It's impossible to know someone's thoughts as they die, but Mohammed Bouazizi seems to have been driven to suicide by humiliation and despair, and since he set fire to himself, we can only think he died in great pain. Can he possibly have imagined that his action would change so much? He, of course, was the young Tunisian whose death provoked the waves of protest that have swept through the Arab world. The Uzbek writer Hamid Ismailov has been reflecting on his story. Mr. Ismailov is head of the BBC's Central Asian Service and currently writer-in-residence at Bush House, the World Service headquarters in London.
I was deeply touched by the event itself, by self-immolation of these young men, because I myself come from Central Asia, where, it's quite common when people, especially women, out of despair, they set fire on themselves. During the Soviet time, for example, every day of the year, one Uzbek woman used to set fire on herself. Even now, they are setting fire on themselves because of the poverty, because of the domestic violence, because of the unbearable difficulties of this life. And therefore, I can understand the feelings of these young men.
And where does that tradition come from? Why is that a response that people make to their conditions?
It's the easiest way to kill yourself publicly, I think. I mean, many people, they say that it comes from Zoroastrianism, where the sort of fire purifies the souls and so on and so forth. I don't think that people go so far in thinking about that, It's their despair which inflames them.
You are, among other things, a novelist, so you're used to creating fictional characters, fictional stories. The truth is that this is such an extraordinary story. The impact of what he did is so extraordinary that you probably wouldn't dare write it in a work of fiction, would you?
No, I wouldn't dare. I wrote a piece where I tried to explain my feelings, and it was so difficult to write even 2-minute piece about that.
Well, I know that piece, that your thoughts address the particular question of how you reconcile what this young man did with Islamic teaching on the question of suicide. Would you like to read us the piece now?
Yes, with great pleasure. Ever since I became a parent in my mid-20s, everything about me, my knowledge, my convictions, my beliefs, are against of any form of suicide. So when I heard the story of the 26-year-old Mohammed Bouazizi from Tunisia, who last December set himself on fire out of utter despair because a policewoman publicly humiliated him and confiscated the fruit and vegetables which he used to sell to make his living, I felt regret that the only way to make himself hurt was self-immolation. But by that time, all of Tunisia, and not just Tunisia, but the wider Arab world, was already on fire with protests. The sparkle of one man's anger turned into the flame of revolution of masses. Suicide is forbidden in Islam and considered a sin in Quran. There is also a famous hadith or saying of the Prophet Muhammad which states in its beginning, "The first of people against whom judgment will be pronounced on the day of resurrection will be a man who died a martyr. He will be brought and God will ask, 'What did you do?' He will say, 'I fought for you until I died a martyr.' Allah will say, 'You have lied. You fought, so it might be said of you, he is courageous.' Then the person will be dragged into hellfire." But my tongue just wouldn't turn to call Mohammed Bouazizi a sinner. In 1921, when Uzbeks were fighting Bolsheviks in Central Asia, our great poet Cholpon wrote a famous poem which called Desire of Consolation. He starts by saying, "I don't know who could console my heart, mountains, stones, or flowing waters. Nothing consoles him, neither stars nor girls, neither tunes nor dreams." And he ends the poem by saying, "If the seas boil, throwing their waves, if the parts of a walker are cut, if his right and left turns into water, will his moistened eyes console him? The heart can't be consoled by thoughts, nor its desire satisfied by contemplations. They say that the candle won't burn in the darkness unless the real sons of men strike the matches." Human history knows those who were set aflame to enlighten the darkness of the world. a peasant girl Jeanne d'Arc, a famous scholar Giordano Bruno, a Vietnamese monk Thich Quang Duc, just to name some. Mohamed Bouazizi may become one of them. And though I'm personally still firmly oppose any form of suicide, seeing the waves and tides of liberty washing over the Arab and Islamic world, I myself, with somehow moistened eyes, unwittingly repeat the words of the great Turkish poet Nazim Hikmet. If I am not aflame, if you are not aflame, if we are not aflame, how will the darkness turn into light?
Hamid Ismailov, the writer in residence at Bush House.